The reason I bring up your marketing spend is what you alluded to there about. It's a pleasure to have you on and for you taking time out of your day to be here. Dan, let's get right into it. You released a video recently talking about your growth to over 500K in new business in a single month. And shoot, you were darn near 600 if we didn't have to take a week off for friends and family last month. Can you walk us through a little bit about your growth over the last decade plus that has led you to where you are today?
Yeah, sure, James. Well, actually, November, we did hit 600K.
Right on. Congratulations, Dan.
So I was blaming Turkey Day, but we made no excuses. I could relate to many of you guys, just getting started. To write my first 100K month, it took 6.5 years. So starting from zero, scratch agency, to writing my first 100K month, usually it was just a producer or two during those times, but it took me a long time. It's not like I was, got off to a great start. It took me over 6 years to get to 100K. And then to get from 100 to 200K took me another 4.5 or 5 years, I believe. I have this all written down in a chart. And then 200, 300 took me 2 years. And then from 400 to 500 took me like a year. And then from 400 to 500 took me just 5 months. And then to go from 500 to 600 just took a month. So the difference is still 100K. From 0 to 100, it took 6.5 years, but going from 500 to 600 only took a month. So I just want to share with you guys that momentum is a real thing when you build it, and we're getting better at our jobs every day, even though it's a little bit, but that really accumulates, especially if your producers are getting better, you guys are getting better at selling, you guys are getting better at marketing, you guys are getting better at recruiting. There's so many things that just compounds over long periods of time that I just want to give you guys hope, first and foremost, and some optimism and something to look forward to because, I was there with you guys. I know what it was like. There were some difficult times financially, mentally, back in the early years where, I didn't even know if I was ever going to be able to write 100K. But again, just want to let you guys know that the work that you guys are putting in, especially with, you guys taking the time and your money to find a provider like Insurance Sales Lab, that's already a great indicator that you guys are serious about your craft and you guys are going to get better. And once it starts getting better, it gets easier and the momentum starts to really get faster and faster as you continue to put in the work in.
Yeah, and you brought up the producer, and I wanted to ask about the mindset of your producers. I know that when you first got started, you have many that have been with you for a very, very long time now. Tell me about their mindset and how that shift transpired from them thinking 20K for me is a good month compared to now where you have people writing over 100,000 in their own personal business every month.
Yeah, just like we evolve as agency owners, the producers, it's a big mind shift too as they get better and better. This is a skill game. I feel like just like any sport, when you first start it, you're just not going to be as good. But with practice, you're just going to get better. And they've gotten so much better with different lines and their belief in themselves. I don't think, like Laura, for example, she's been with me the longest, 10 years, just started off. I found her on Craigslist, $11 an hour. Lot of personal issues, single mom, very young, and just had a lot of difficulties. But the mindset, it doesn't happen overnight, but this business has been so great to us. And the potential is something that we could both say that we probably underestimated, but you just put our heads down and just come into work every single day. After 10 years, it's going to be something that you guys will be very, something to be proud of. She has gotten married. She has bought a house with a pool. She has, been just someone that we could all get inspiration from. So for all your producers out there, I think this business is much more lucrative and rewarding and fulfilling than I first thought it was. It's just that it requires a patience. So the mindset change is something where I'm not sure if it ever changed. It's just someone who never wants to go backwards. Every month she wants to do better than the previous month. And as long as she keeps that mindset, then it's just there's only one way to go. And over a long periods of time, it starts adding up.
Wonderful. And a lot of that comes from an agency owner who supports and grows their team in the way that you do. And it speaks volumes through their efforts onto you. I really, really enjoy your YouTube videos. It was a recent find of mine, but an absolute love. I look forward to each one that you put out because they have little tidbits in, even sometimes not the things that you may or may not think would be most impactful. In a recent video, in fact, your one where you talked about your growth to 500K, you brought up the idea of a paying your dues phase, paying your dues. Can you tell me a little bit more about what it means to be in the phase of paying your dues? Because I'm sure there's a lot of us here that are currently find themselves in it. What is the importance this has to play, and what's the outcome of following through with it?
Yeah, well, paying your dues, I think this business is also constructed in a way where it's designed to have delayed gratification effects. So you have to invest back in your agency, or you have to sell policies, and maybe it's not a big premium, but you're learning how to sell policies. You're just a lot of, I don't know if I want to call it sacrifice, but there's a lot of learning stages. And my whole point is, if you're going to go through difficult times, might as well get something out of it. So the most unfortunate thing I will say is when people are going through the paying their dues phase and then they quit during the reap the benefit stage. So the one of the biggest things is just not giving up, really, because naturally, if you just keep trying every day, just like I said, it's like a sport, you're just going to get better every day. So might as well get something out of the practice of all the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into this business. And I think the longer you could delay your gratification, more specifically for the agency owners, the more the payoff is. The more you don't upgrade your lifestyle, the more you put back into the agency, the more time and effort you put back into the producers, and the more commitment you give to them, the more you get out later. And you just keep giving and giving and giving, and that's something that's gonna pay off later. And as far as producers goes, I think it's the same thing too. As far as paying your dues, even in a phone call, you just want to build rapport, give them everything you have. Hey, you want to see this option? You want to see this option? Just be as nice as possible. It's just so much giving has to come first before getting that sale. And I think that's just a mentality. And then, also for the producers, there's delayed gratification too, because what's happening with the agency, as the more you guys sell, there's more capital in the future, because the first year sales renew the second year, third year, fourth year, and then, just on and on and on. So not only does the agency owner have to have patience, but also the producers, as they do better and the agency does better, I think there's a patience factor there as far as building something together. And if you guys have something going on like that with the producer and the agency owner really working together as a team, and I know this might sound difficult, but both together putting their interests second, but the agencies first, that's when great things can happen. Working together with the team, even if it's a team of 2 or 3, if you have 2 people committed, 3 people committed, then that's something that could pay off. And the agency owner's job is to really show that they're willing to give back once the rewards start coming in. So you have to establish that by when things go well, having some, it's Christmas time, so maybe some bonus, or I don't know, just ways you could show that, hey, I'm not going to buy exotic car because we're doing so well now. I'm going to go right back into the agency, get you some CSR help, get you some training, spend more money on marketing, and really make that. I don't really like calling it sacrifice, because I enjoy doing it now, because I know the payoff is greater. So it's easier for me to make these pay the dues, because I know the payout is coming. And I think sometimes when you're newer, you don't have faith in that sometimes. You're worried that, hey, is this all going to be worth it? Is this spending money on marketing or staffing, is it worth it? Or for the producer, hey, is the insurance business really it for me? Is it really going to pay off? Am I going to make money in this business? Those doubts are something that could cause that growth to go slower. So pay your dues, because I could tell you guys from firsthand experience that it definitely pays off, and it's worth all the work that I've put in.
Wonderful. And if someone like yourself says to reinvest in your team and in your agency, boy, I'd be writing that down. Speaking of things I wrote down, something that you just said, and again, there's so much wisdom in the words that you say, it's sometimes taken for granted. You were talking about the paying your dues phase transitioning into the reap the benefits phase. And it sounds like that's something that can be achieved on an agency level, but also on an individual producer level. And it's not often talked about. You know, getting into a new industry or even transitioning to a new agency, you may have done this before, but you're getting started, you're paying your dues, you're working up. But then when the reap the benefit phase comes, it's very, very nice. So I wanted to ask you something that you talk about quite frequently. And guys, if you're listening in, and please do follow his YouTube channel. It is fantastic stuff. One video you guys have to watch, it's called Make Time to Help Yourself Win in the Insurance Business. Make time. And the key idea in that video is how to make time for yourself and to utilize it. Can you go ahead and tell us that example that you used of the barbecue you went to and kind of the realization that you had from that?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I want to give you guys a lot of credit for making the time to be here. So, pat yourself on the back for that. You guys are here. This is your valuable time. So that's why I'm desperate to provide value to you guys to make this, webinar worth it. But yeah, I was at a barbecue and my neighbor was a business owner and he sold office furniture. And, we're both in business and he was like, hey, how can I sell more office furniture? What do you think? And I said, hey, why don't you make some Facebook ads and target business owners in your area and see if, that would attract some, leads for you. And he said, I don't have time for that. And I said, all right, that's that. And we moved on and had some burgers. And later on during the barbecue, he just told me that with a group of other neighbors, it's like, hey, have you seen Breaking Bad, season blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I haven't. And then he was like, how about the Game of Thrones? Like, have you seen season 25? And I said, no, I haven't seen any of that. And he was like, oh, okay. And they were all talking about it. And then later on, this was right when football season was about to start. So they were like, oh, okay, can't wait for the first Sunday. And then they all agreed with each other that they're going to spend all day from 10 a.m. all the way to 7 p.m. watching all the games on 4 screens and just sitting on the couch all day and enjoying football because the first Sunday of the week of the season. So at that point, I thought, well, that I don't have time for that excuse was not legitimate because we could all get on YouTube and spend a couple hours and become so much better at Facebook advertising than we were just 2 hours ago. And all those hours of shows and football watching, if you add that up into something productive, I mean, obviously we need our escape and have enjoyment. But I think it just comes down to how much time you want to spend on mastering your craft or how much you want to grow your agency. It's just a negotiation with your head. Hey, do I really want to pay the dues to get this? Or is it not worth it? And that's okay if you feel like your time is not worth, in your ambition level. We all have different ambition level. But if you really want to succeed in this business, we do have the time, So I just want to share that with you guys that anything could be done with time and effort.
One of the things you brought up in that same video is that you hardly listen to music anymore. Is that true, or did you just say that for the camera?
Yeah, no, music I listen to on Fridays. It's kind of like a treat for me, but there's so much different content out there. I've been watching different podcasts, sales training, marketing training, how to become a better leader. There's just so much content out there, positive stuff that is so important for us we just have an option, just like friends, who we hang out with, or other producers or other agency owners. If you guys have a network, you guys have a choice to consume or have different friends. And obviously everybody knows, if you have positive friends, it's going to be so much easier for you to be positive, especially with agents and co-workers and things like that. So we have a choice to determine what we want to consume. And there's so much information out there that why not spend our time driving or working out to learn from other successful, great people that have been doing great in business or sales.
Wonderful. Now, and anyone who knows what they're talking about will say there will always be people trying to drag you down or thinking that you can't all succeed together. But agencies like yours and human beings like yourself are a testament to the fact that we can all grow and build and develop together. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the great things that you guys have going on here. You guys are all in the same boat well, not all in the same boat, but very similar. You guys have all had the same goals. So this is a great way to build community within this group here and to network with other agents in a similar area or similar progress levels, and just get together or not, you don't have to get together these days, just, keep in contact with each other, track your progress. And I do really, really believe that, same thing with producers or with clients, when you get to each other as colleagues or peers, you're also receiving from each other as well. So helping each other and just associating and being engaged with like-minded, motivated producers and agents is something that I really strongly recommend.
Right on. And that's not something that's easier said than done. We are actively encouraging those types of relationships. In fact, our Facebook page is open for anyone who's on our platform. Go in there. There are people commenting and posting about the regular stuff, the struggles, the high times, the low times. And just like Dan said right now, find those communities, find people all yearning for a greater success and grow together. Let's switch gears here just for a moment, Dan, and let's talk about actually selling insurance. One thing that we're going to talk about after our break here is building value versus selling on price. And you talk about that quite heavily, and I'm sure it's taught within your agency that we can't sell on price, especially as farmers agents. Rarely, if ever, will we beat another carrier's prices apples to apples, right? So when you talk about, you have a selling on fear, which sounds intimidating, a lack of coverage, potential liabilities involved. Walk me through your mindset when you're coaching your team, which, again, I've already talked about his YouTube page. His Instagram is absolute fire every day. This guy is an animal. You look in the dictionary next to beast, you'll see him when it comes to social media marketing and the posts that he puts up, swear to God. Anyway, walk me through how you teach the importance of building value on the phones versus selling on price, like many of us do.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks, James, for the compliments. But if I had your style and your voice, I would have way more followers than I do currently. But yeah, when it comes to selling, I just, in a genuine way, let them know what the consequences are for not having these certain coverages. Not to just scare them, blatantly, or just come off like a sales pitch, oh, wow, is that the type of coverage you currently have? Oh, okay, well, if something happens, and this could happen, they could garnish your wages. So I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. Is that okay with you? Or just having concern about their coverage, and not that. And then also the important part is giving them the consequences of not having that coverage. So that way people are thinking about price when they're contacting you, but then you're shifting their mindset to, oh no, if I don't have, thank you for letting me know about this coverage. Now I'm a little bit scared now that I don't have this coverage currently. That could happen. And, people buy off emotions. So that is something that in a weird way, what we do as insurance agents, we sell fear, and some people value that you're explaining them what the consequences are. But that's probably the most important thing, is that letting them know what could happen, but mention it in a genuine, I'm a little concerned about your situation type of way, instead of, you should definitely have this coverage because this could happen, more of a softer approach. And then also letting them, I think another part of the sales process that we really want to, emphasize, and you guys are the best at, sales training, but for me, it's just about understanding what they want, really, really getting to know what they want and what their pain is. So whatever their pain is, and getting this out of them is a skill on itself. But once you find out what their pain is, or what their situation is, or why they're shopping for insurance, because no one shops for insurance for fun, why they're shopping, and then you just want to clarify that. Okay, so I get it. So you're shopping because your last, your renewal went up, or because they didn't call you when your policy was about to cancel, or they had a bad claims experience, or whatever the situation is. You want to clarify why they're shopping, and then emphasize that pain, and get them a little bit more like, yeah, sorry to hear about that. They raised your renewal that much. Okay, yeah, and then really emphasize that pain so they take more action. So selling the fear, clarifying their pain, and then emphasizing that pain those are the, very short way to just go over my sales training.
One of the things that you may be, and I know how humble you are and how much gratitude you have for those around you. The follow-up step that you have there is after you emphasize the pain, then you go ahead and put a Band-Aid on it. You solve it for them, right? Through your coverages and your model.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes just letting them know what their pain is, and then letting them know, hey, I understand your pain, that's already half the battle. And then saying, hey, I'm the one who can help you out with that pain. And sometimes even before you give them the price, they're already 50% sold on you. So you want to get that part out of the way. And then when it comes to the end, it's 50-50, remind them of that pain and actually use that angle to close the deal. So if you know what their situation is, you may want to, on the phone call, write it down. And sometimes it'll be just price, so say, hey, okay, if it's about price, well, let me try my best, but, just to let you know, farmers, and then bring the value there, but you do want to write down that price and then try your best, and then just be honest with them. And that way it doesn't seem like, oh, this person is going to try to really close me strongly. So let's just see if we can help you out with the price. I'll try my best. These are some words that, we say when they're price sensitive, but we're trying to get that price shoppers into, did you know about these coverages? And what could happen? And then change your mindset to, I want to save money, to, oh, thank you so much for letting me know about this. It's easier said than done, but that's really when you're a master insurance salesperson, when you change their mindset to, I want to save price, to, thank you for protecting me.
Listening to Dan talk, ladies and gentlemen, it's like reading a book from one of the best to ever do it, right? It took him over a decade to get to where he is now. And yet we're getting a cheat code. We're getting a Spark Notes copy of how to go ahead and follow the same track and learn from some of the things that he's learned over years and years of doing it. It's beautiful to listen to. It reminds me, over Black Friday, we were getting a new television and we saw this new advertisement for a TV, and they said Black Friday sale, $399 for this TV 4K, but it was a brand that nobody's ever heard of, and it was one of those, and great buy, great value. You look into the reviews, it burns out, it's bad quality, doesn't go up to 4K, all this stuff. And then we ended up looking at a more expensive option that was LG or Samsung. And for the investment that you make, similar to how our prospects are thinking about the investment they're making in insurance, they can always find someone who's going to sell them a $300 TV that doesn't work. But we offer, especially with farmers and Allstate and these massive carriers, something that allows them to have the best coverages, the fastest rate of return when you have to file a claim. It is just beautiful to work for. Now, something I do want to bring up, and answer this however you find most appropriate, marketing and leads. I know that we have a lot of questions about that. I'm sure that you spend quite a bit on leads and you reinvest in your agency to do so. Are you comfortable putting out the number that you spend on average per month on marketing expenses?
Yeah, sure. Well, last month to get to 600,000, I spent $40,000 on marketing. And I remember on stage at the Insurance Growth Conference, I was around 32K, and I was doing about 400. So
that's a nice return on 8K of marketing,
right? One thing happened when I went to the Insurance Growth Conference. James, you and Vlad got me all fired up. So I went back to my office, and I was just so motivated, just being around you guys, really, too. And being around, motivated agents got me to the level that I wanted to. And just, that's something that I just want to, probably just emphasize, too, is that, it just takes a lot of, and I don't want to say that I'm courageous, but I guess it does take a lot of, courage and the willingness to lose sometimes, and, putting your mouth and not being scared about losing money to grow your business, if you're on the agency owner side. Okay. And as a producer, you want to, when you have somebody that is doing that type of effort and commitment as far as time and money into your agency, then that's something that if you find a producer like that, you really want to respect that, because they're going out of their way and spending money that they could spend on something else into back to the business and for your careers. So if you find an agency owner that's willing to do that, then I think the leads might be a little bit more valuable to you. You might nurture them a little bit more because they cost money. and you're well aware of that. So that's something I share with my team all the time, because I don't want them to take it for granted. But it's just something that is a necessity to grow your agency. Now, you don't have to if you don't have big ambitions. You could go the natural market way and find people and, find realtors, and those are all great, things to do. But if you want to write the big numbers and really build an agency, then the marketing spend, rent spend, staffing spend, how your commission structure is paid out, really even though the numbers may scare you. And I remember when I was brand new, that some of the marketing spend, the first $1,000 I spent, I was like, oh my God. But it just, the more you do it, and again, this is where experience helps, the payoff is there.
And I'm over here with most of the agency owners on the call doing the mental math of, okay, 600,000 for 40K, scale that down to where I am. Okay, that's actually pretty reasonable of a spend when you start kind of scaling it down a little bit. But the reason I bring up your marketing spend is what you alluded to there about the importance of the leads and the importance to your team to follow through on it. One of the analogies Vlad uses at his conferences that he does is he talks about, if these individual producers had to take the money out of their own pockets and spend it on these leads, would they work it harder than what they're working them now? So my question to you, Dan, is what's your take on the follow-up of these leads? How important is that to your agency? And how do you promote the act of following up on these leads?
Wow, yeah, that's a great question. Well, how do we follow up is a lot of it is through email and text. We don't like to bombard our leads with phone calls as much. We don't use dialers anymore. It's just something that, especially in California, people just get turned off if you're just too aggressive and you just seem like a desperate salesperson. And that's really not the position or how we want to portray ourselves as sales professional. So we rather email professional text messages and emails with like pictures of our producers and just show them that, hey, we're here to help. And that way, even though you may not get the sale right away, even though you rather, but you can still nurture these leads and they may contact you 3 months later. One thing that maybe I'll share with you guys that a tactical strategy is all these leads that you guys bought this year, email them January 2nd, or depending on how big your list is, and say, hey, Happy New Year's. Do you want to start off the New Year's with savings on your insurance? I could have said that a lot better, but think out the content clearly, and the copy, I should say. Write it out, email it to everybody, and then see what you get. That just by itself keeps us busy in the whole week of January, because we have to break down our list, when we have 50,000 leads.
Everybody on this call right now should write that down. What does it cost to send out an email? If you do it in bulk, maybe a penny per email, if that. You send it out to 1,000 old leads that you have. And what a tremendous marketing opportunity to do January 2nd. What an idea. Dan, we have 7 more minutes here. Oh, wow. I would love to, if you're open to it, open it up to questions from the audience here. We've got 140 other excited members of our Insurance Sales Lab group. I'll catch us up to speed here of what we have. Paul Harrington says, building value outside price is key. Sal asks, captive or independent? And if you were to do it again, Dan, in 2022, right now, you're starting from scratch. Would you go captive again with farmers or go independent?
Well, you caught me at a bad time here because there's some news coming along and there's changes all the time, But, I don't think that's the difference maker. I really believe it's up to the agents to win in this business or not. So I would say either or, depending on that person, okay? For me, farmers has been great. There's major challenges coming along for 2023 for my agency specifically, but I know that there's always a way to win. And any, obstacle there's opportunities there. So it's all in how you look at it. I think in the independent side, there's also tremendous amount of, if you like camaraderie, I like to work with other farmers, agents, and again, the branding really helps. There's just so many pros and cons on both sides. I think it's up to each individual agent, but I definitely have no regrets on the choice I made 15 years ago.
Wonderful. And he is also on live with a bunch of farmers agents. So we could have anticipated where that question would have went. Yeah. Well, something I have to ask, you alluded to it here, the changes that are upcoming for this year. Let's look backwards. And you've been doing this a long time with varying degrees of success throughout your career. Are these changes that are happening now or the ones that have happened over the last few years? Have we seen this before? And is it the end of the world, what we've seen over the last few years?
No, yeah, it's definitely not the end of the world. And this isn't something new. And in fact, it's something that we all just have to learn to expect. The only thing that won't change is that there will be change. So the change comes, and some of them are more severe than other. I get that because I'm in a major one in California right now. But there's always going to be opportunities, and whatever change comes, there's something where you could find that, hey, there's an opportunity. Because I can't do this, I started doing this, and now I'm doing better here. And it's just the way you look at things is the obstacles. If you really let them get to you, you're just focused on the problem. You just want to focus on the solution and move on as fast as possible. Unemotionally, it's a business. And what's best for the company is what's best for the agency owners in the long run and the producers in the long run. So I would just say that, hey, if you guys are going through some changes, rate increases, underwriting changes, billing changes, your best producer leaving, or your agency owner stops spending money on leads, there's always alternatives. There's always things that you could figure out, but there's really no point in dwelling on things and just moving on and having a outlook that, hey, this might seem like a problem, but it actually, now that I look back at some of the problems I thought I had, they actually turned out to be great opportunities where I pivoted, and it was better for the big picture.
Wonderful. And lessons to grow and learn from. We've got a few minutes left. Dan, let's do a quick answer, short answer, some Q&As, okay? So we're kind of doing the hot seat from all those game shows. Okay, from Matt Livings, what is your top marketing format or strategy by ROI?
Tie. It would be a tie, Facebook and Google.
Facebook and Google. Lucas Garcia says, what is your most popular personal line of business and your least popular personal line of business?
It's auto. And then there's no lease, but I guess I just have to go with premium. I just go with renters.
Easy enough.
Even though we love selling renters, it's just the premium.
And it'll vary so much depending on location, how you respond. Okay, let's go down here. We've got from Tasia. She is a new agent. What would you say is the best investment? Would you invest on staff or leads?
That's a great question. I will go with leads because you need leads to have staff. But the best answer is both, obviously. But you want to get the leads and make sure you have something because you can have the best staff in the whole world, but if you don't have leads, what are we doing there? So you need to have the leads to be able to develop the staff. So even though it's both, I think when you're brand new, you still want to have your focus more on leads. So because if you solve this lead problem, then you can hire as much staff as you want.
Wonderful. And another good one here from another new agent. And this is one that I know you could talk for hours on, and we'd all love to hear it. What is your why? How do you motivate yourself every day? And just before you get started, everybody, follow him on Instagram. He walks you through his why every single day like an animal, and I love it. But Dan, real quick, real succinctly, what is your why? How do you motivate yourself?
Yeah, it's really easy for me. It's just natural, but I would say, man, it's weird you put me on the spot like that because I'm asking my staff what's your why all the time. And now it's like someone else is asking me. It's kind of weird.
What do they say for their whys? What kind of answers do you get?
Our agency is very family oriented as far as, working hard for our families. That's kind of our motto, working harder for our family's financial future. Just same thing for me, absolutely. My family's financial future. I just, feel like I've been blessed and I want to give back because in a way, I feel a little bit guilty that I had great parents, and I grew up in such a environment where I was kind of easier for me to win, take risks because of my parents, how they loved me, and then for financially they were in not a bad position. So I was able to take risk and become a business owner. And then I just see, my staff members maybe not having that solid of a background. And I think my guilt that how lucky I have it maybe makes me feel like I want to, in the insurance business, how great it's been for me. I just want to, just share it with as many people as possible. And then just feeling that responsibility that not only am I responsible for their lives, but their kids' lives, it is something that keeps me going. So I do feel like my why is just to, help others maybe that weren't as fortunate as me to make a better life with this great business that we're in.
Beautiful. And just on closing here, 60 seconds or less, Dan, what would you like to say, or what piece of advice, single piece of advice would you give to the first year, 2-year agency owners who are on this training, learning, taking the time? What advice can you give them?
Yeah, maybe it's cliche, but, really just enjoy the process, and just have patience, because when I started having more patience, that's when I got actually better at my job. It's like almost like ambition is something that's hindering me for a while, because I was so ambitious that actually made me frustrated. And when you're frustrated, you're not a good business owner, you're not a good salesperson. So enjoy the process. Just, accept the fact that it's going to take time. And if you have a better mindset, and if your intent is pure, and you judge yourself off your intent, then you're just going to enjoy yourself, the process more, and you're actually going to grow faster by being more patient, because you're going to be nicer to the clients. You're going to be nicer to your producers. You're going to be nicer to yourself, most importantly. And that's really the way that we should be going through this journey, is enjoying it the whole time, and not because, some metric you have there, at year 1, I should be at this number or anything like that. Remember, it took me 6 years to get to 100K. It took me 12 years to make PC. And it took me, 13 years to make $1 million a year. And then it just took me another 3 years to make 2 million, to double that. So it's just something where I just want to share with you guys that the whole time I should have been enjoying that very moment there, because it's just all been a blessing. So what you guys are going through is something that I just want you guys to enjoy it, because it's just truly something that we're very lucky to be in.
Wonderful. If we take anything away from this, aside from my sheet of notes and wisdom, enjoy the process. Dan Kitajima. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been Dan Kitajima, the host of Elite Agent Talk podcast. Follow him on YouTube, follow him on Instagram, follow him wherever he goes. This man is not just destined for greatness, but he has found it. Dan, thank you so much for hopping on the show. We'll see you again very soon.
All right. Thanks again, James. Hey, good luck to everybody, guys. I really wish you guys the best.